we put the kite up by having the boat deep enough that the spinnaker can get hoisted. You still okay or no?
Yeah, I'm good.
You don't sound okay.
I'm okay. I'm good.
All right. To help Drew out here, I'm going to do a drop, all right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the spinnaker drop. In the spinnaker drop, we're going to evacuate one of the corners. The corner that we're going to evacuate first is going to be the tack. And we're going to do that by releasing the spinnaker pole. Now, see how the sail flags out? It's now not very powerful. I'm going to get to the center seam of the spinnaker. By getting to the center seam, the sail folds in half. I can hold this with 2 fingers. Right? If I was grabbing it by the clue, it would be filling, whether it was full of air or water, whatever fluid's in there. Right? So now, I've got the center seam under control. Now I can release the halyard.
Oh, wow.
Normally I wouldn't wrap it
Nice. Gosh.
The sail comes down.
Wow. Nice.
Last thing into the box is going to be the tack line, which is going to be the first thing out of the box. Right? So now you'll see the last 3 things in are going to be the first 3 things out. So for me, when I do a J80 spinnaker set, I pre-feed the tack. I hoist the halyard. I extend the pole. I trim the sheet. Conveniently, the pod is set up so that you go tack, halyard, pull. Then when it's time to drop, I release the pole. I get to the center seat. I release the halyard. That's gravity for you.
Nice. Nice.
KB, question for
And
you.
I release the tack.
Question for you, KB.
Yes?
We're doing a lured takedown right now,
Well,
or are
the
you?
reality is that it doesn't matter if it's a windward, leeward, or jibe drop. I do the same order.
Copy.
Pull, halyard, tack. Which is the inverse of what we did on the hoist. We went tack, halyard, pull. So it's running clockwise or counterclockwise depending on the set. All right?
So when you've done the pole, or I'm sorry, yeah,
On
you've
the
done the
set?
pole, no, on the takedown.
On the takedown,
So
sure.
you've done the pole, then the next thing you're doing is grabbing the clue, but only so that you can start working to the middle.
Yeah, I never actually go to the clue.
Okay.
So if you over-trim, it's hard to do here at the dock, but if you over-trim the spinnaker, the clue ends up here.
Okay.
Which means that I can reach here and grab the center seam.
So you're going to the foot.
I'm going to the foot tape and I'm looking for the reinforced center seam. We trim sails from their corners, we douse sails from their sides.
Okay.
All that's spinnakers, that symmetrical, asymmetrical. A lot of people want to grab a corner. That's how you go swimming.
Well, because then it folds it in half.
Boom. The leeches go forward, fluid goes off the edges. Yep.
And it's pulling it back into you, and
Yep.
then it gets the corners on top.
You got it.
KB, some question for you. Thought on windward takedowns, some people like to dump the sheet and then trim the other sheet and actually physically jibe the spinnaker over. Comments on that one?
I'm a believer in that tactic. So that all depends on how the helmsperson sets the boat up for the drop. You've got to be able to get the boat to the proper angle to make that happen. But a windward drop, this was a leeward side takedown that we were doing. A windward takedown, we have to get the spinnaker to the windward side of the boat. Well, all we're doing is jibing the spinnaker. So to do it, we ease the old sheet or dump the old sheet and then trim the windward sheet around until the clue gets back here, and now we're in our normal drop position. So So it's all about getting to home base, to the same thing every time for every time. If you think about the dynamics of the who's doing what in the boat, in this case as the trimmer, I was also doing the strength. I was releasing the controls. We're gonna have a dedicated person there releasing the controls. As the trimmer, I'm usually the recovery artist, the person who's gathering the sail. So I may have my mainsail trimmer over trim the spinnaker to me so that I can go grab the foot tape. And once I have the foot tape, they release and the corners get released and down it comes.
So can you do the order again for it's like so it's hoist?
On the hoist, we're gonna pre-feed the tack.
So pre-feed the tack.
Yep, and we're gonna have a tack mark when we do that. So, but that's roughly where it goes. And that mark is the distance that the pole travels out to take the tack all the way out to the end of the pole. Then we hoist. It's now gotten windier, so I'm not gonna do it. But
Hoist. It's pole.
pole, halyard,
Halyard.
I'm sorry, tack, halyard, pole, which conveniently goes tack, halyard, pole. It's counterclockwise. Then at the drop, it's pole, halyard, tack. And to me, that's your best way to find success. Some people will extend the pole first.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's talk about why that's a challenging idea. Okay? The first is this. If I extend the pole, I am now sailing a J32. Okay? Because the pole adds 8 feet. Well, I lost a lot of maneuverability in the process. Second, remember the immutable law of gravity. I now have to get the tack from there all the way out to the end of the pole before the water grabs it. That's a long way to go before the sail can go into the drink. So I'm not a fan of early pole extension. I think you want to use the pole to get the tack out. Now, on J80s, because of the height of the lifeline, oftentimes on that extension, stepping off, on that extension, the tack will go out and get stuck right here. So to fix that, we oftentimes put a piece of PVC pipe right here. That's a 1-inch diameter pipe that creates a roller for the tack to roll over as it's going out there. And that helps a great deal. And it's, you know, $4 at Home Depot. You don't have to go carbon.
On the J80, is there a Mexican Douse or no Mexican Douse?
There is, yeah. I call that the jive douse because people think a Mexican douse is somehow pejorative, even though it relates to the America's Cup and which way the bow is pointing at the drop. And it also doesn't describe what it is. A Mexican douse is where we douse while jibing. It starts as a windward and finishes as a leeward. Or you can do it the other way around. So the fact of the matter is that we're doing the maneuver while we're bringing the sail down is all that's happening there.
And you still take it back to the cockpit, never.
Nothing changes. The technique that I just described is the same for all of our douses.
So when you say that you're not a fan of putting the pole out first, is that just J80s or is that like 105s? Like,
Well, great question. It really depends on the mechanics of the boat, but in general, I'm a late pole deployer. Keep in mind that class rules in the J80 and other classes don't allow you to extend the pole unless you're in the active setting. The active setting is determined as a constant hoist. So the head has to be in a constant motion to the top for you to be sending the pole, right? In a lot of classes.
KB, question for
Sure,
you.
fire away.
In the ideal world, would you like to see the halyard and the bowsprit going up simultaneously
Yeah,
at the same
so
time?
before you started recording, we were talking about this. In a perfect world, or if you're going to do a self-assessment on your hoist, what is the time delta between termination? So if the tack and the head terminate at the same moment, that's a great set. And we want to separate the 3 corners of the sail so that we're getting them far apart so that they're not kind of tripping over one another. And so for me, what I love to have happen is the head and the tack terminate, the sail goes flomp, right? And the sheet literally starts to leap out of the boat. And sometimes we'll even put a preset mark on the Spinnaker sheet so that it's dropped into this cleat so that when you terminate, it sets, right? That said, if the sheet comes on early during the Spinnaker set, none of us are strong enough to get the head to the top or the tack to the end. So when in doubt, let it out. Let the sheet run, let the sail luff. It's much faster to trim that luffing sail into proper trim than to try to ease an over trim sail into the proper position.
KB, what would you say to a team that, experiences hourglasses more often than not on sets?
Well, that's usually a preparation problem and a delay issue. So if you imagine this, the helmsperson has put the boat on the proper angle, coming off the top mark or the offset, that's pretty deep. The way I describe it is the air conditioning turns off in the boat. Now, once they've gotten to that angle, the hoist begins. They don't stay at that angle. They slowly begin to bring the bow up, turning on the air conditioning, getting that air flowing through the sail plan. But if there's a lot of delay on the hoist due to some lack of preparation that created a friction point, then the head of the sail will get stuck halfway up, and the swirlingness that's taking place behind the mainsail will grab the head and begin to twist it, creating that hourglass. Or if the tack and the head aren't transiting at similar speeds, the head may get all the way up, but the tack's not all the way out. The bottom of the sail begins to get that tornadic twist. And that one's even harder to get out. So it's really important that we're using the preparation period of the last third of the windward leg to have the sail ready to go so that we can have a clean and unimpeded hoist to get the corners going in the right direction.
What's the recovery from
Uh, Yeah, so a big ease on the halyard. We oftentimes have a mark on our halyard that is like a 6-foot ease mark. So we know where it is, and we whip that into the halyard so that it gives haptic feedback. It goes badunk-a-dunk as it goes through the cleat, right? So we ease to that. The foot will oftentimes kiss the water at that point, but not shrimp. And that puts enough relaxation into the sail that the untwist can begin to happen. And then re-hoisting usually gets the twist the rest of the way out.
So you default to halyard on that, not pulling down on.
Yeah, so if you've ever had a knot in a pile of line, did you pull really hard on the corners? No, it seats the knot, right?
Yeah.
We need to relax the knot to let it work itself out. There could be some other mechanical issues at play there. So if you don't have a shackle that swivels, if you're just tying into the head of the halyard, sometimes that can lead to twists because there's not enough freedom for this to spin at the top. Personally, I don't use shackles. I just pull faster. But if you don't have that, sometimes that can be a contributor to it. Old Spinnakers tend to hourglass more often than new ones because they get sticky. They don't have the sail coat on the sail that allows you to get them smoothly running against each other. Drew, you're welcome for being your sailmaker pitch. So those are some contributing factors. So spray coating your Spinnaker with Nick Lube can help if you're having that issue.
Yeah, brand new sails is usually the easiest, I find.
Definitely, yeah. And in the long run, the cheapest. Yeah.
I'd like to relay one troubleshooting story for you. I was crewing for Coach John Dahansky, and we shrimped the spinnaker on him. We allowed the foot to fall into the water, and it was shrimping, which is obviously an issue. But JT, being the super sailor he is, he was driving. He jibed us. He actually put us into a jibe. Get this for troubleshooting. That then made that the windward side, which gave us the chance to actually haul the thing in. He then jibed us back and we hoisted it.
It's amazing.
And we saved the day. So I hope you don't have to use that one, but you can have that in your back pocket.
Well, interesting.
Before it's around the keel, right?
Before it's around the keel. Yes.
Interestingly enough, if you get an hourglass while jibing, sometimes jibing back is a solution. Right?
Yeah.
That can be really helpful if you have one that won't let go. Jibing back will sometimes unwind the twist.
One more question now that we
Fire.
have to is on the tack.
You have me all the time.
Letting the tack out, a couple of inches, a foot, or never. Always keep the tack tight.
Well, great question. So that is a sail shaping control. So the tack is the equivalent of the Cunningham for the Spinnaker. So if we're trying to make the draft further forward or make the sail flatter, we'll carry more luff tension in the Spinnaker. If we're trying to make the sail deeper, we'll carry less luff tension in the Spinnaker. Therefore, if I'm sailing a hotter reaching angle or trying to plane, I have a lot of tension in the luff of my Spinnaker, right? So on a J80, that's max backstay on, tack line all the way down. Then if I'm sailing a really deep angle, backstay's 100% off, tack line's eased as much as 18 inches to really give me good windward projection. A good visual cue for you is what does the exit of the tack from the pole look like? we want vertical exit off the end of the pole. So if it's falling to leeward, you need more tack line tension, or your helmsperson's sailing too high. If it's projecting too far to windward, then you probably have too much ease on the tack line, and the sail is over-rotated. So I like to shoot for a vertical exit. And on the J80, if it's a class legal spinnaker, the luff length is really designed to work at full extension. So 12 to 18 inches is probably my max ease, but I eliminate the block at the end of the pole so that I have 3 more inches of play than a lot of people do. In fact, there's a hoop at the end of the pole. I take the ring, the hoop out, and I put a low friction Antal ring in there, then put the hoop back in. And now I have a really nice low friction setup there that gives me more tack line play. Same thing goes on a J105. I do the same thing on the 105.
Thank you very much.